time for the one and only show. It's the Luke Howard Show, and guess what? It's recorded, so please welcome Luke Howard.
Thank you. Merci. I should actually do it in a different way, actually. Merci. Merci, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Morning. It's Wednesday the 1st of July. Pinch punch, first day of the month, of course. And welcome to a brand new month of the one and the only show, the Luke Howard Show. And I want to start off with a little mention today. Happy birthday, Mother, of course, because today it is her birthday today. So a very, very happy birthday to her, of course. So, let's move on, shall we? Because we're going to talk about news, okay? Stuff that was breaking from yesterday. Now, let's talk about the first low. Okay, we're just going to talk about the latest sort of things that have been going on recently. So, Leicester. Okay, let's talk about Leicester because we did speak about this on the show yesterday. It's waking up to the UK's first local lockdown yesterday and today. So, between 6 and 10 people, in the city are being admitted to hospital with COVID-19's everyday symptoms, and it's compared with an average of one elsewhere in England. And of course it's prompting the government, and this is to reimpose restrictions. So non-essential shops and schools have been closed, and the wider reopening of pubs, restaurants, of course, are not going to happen still. So I've got a little are we going to say the population each week? No, we won't talk about that. Okay, so Boris Johnson, okay, he will promise to build back better as he unveils plans to spend billions of pounds on infrastructure investment in mitigate the economic impact of coronavirus. And the PM is lightening his new deal to that, of course, of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who led the US out of the Great Depression in the 1930s. He said, our environment analyst says that some, though, feel that it isn't the bold green recovery package that had been trialled, just what effect has the crisis had on the global economy, of course. And we'll leave that bit there. So, of course, back to school plans, because a lack draft of the plans for England, published by the Huffington Post, reveals that entire year groups will form bubbles, potentially with a separate start and a finish times. Now, assemblies could also be banned, and the curriculum slimmed down to focus on core subjects like English and maths. Full details are due later this week, and it comes as a group of charities warns that children are facing experienced threats to their futures as a result of this pandemic, and you should be protonised as well. So 100 days, yes, 100 days of lockdown. So a Newsbeat, okay, not BBC, sorry, I got that wrong. A Newsbeat has been following the lives of young children in the small town of Telford to find out how lockdown has changed for them. So from the local footballer, I would believe, who has no idea what will happen to his career, to the rapper who thought that 2020 would be his best year yet. It's a microcosm of the UK as a whole, for whom the easing of restrictions is being stress rather than relief. So never forget, I've got a video to play in a moment. So hundreds of health care workers in the UK have lost their lives to COVID-19, and now a project by the London Symphony Chorus is playing tribute to them. So we've got a video to play now.
It is a living memorial in music to the people who work
Howard Goodall,
in healthcare,
composer of it.
Lives in the fight against COVID-19. It's very important to me that each name is heard once very clearly on its own. The word honour is correct. We want to honour these names. So we train incredibly hard to make sure that when a relative heard the name of their mother or father or grandfather or daughter, that they wouldn't be jarring in any way, that it would sound respectful to them.
see my mum's name there and hear my mum's
Abuse to
name as well,
Diana,
but it
mother
doesn't
in
mean
remembered in song. Abby's mum Emma was a nurse at a care home. She died at Easter after contracting COVID-19.
I think one of my worries was that after everything has finished, people who, looked after people and helped people that through this, that they might be forgotten. So knowing that these tributes are being done, we're really grateful for that. We're really grateful that there are people who are going to, capture that.
My name's Jo Buchan and I sing with the London Symphony Chorus, and I'm singing an alto part in Never to Forget.
As far as I'm concerned, the month of April never happened.
Gavin Butchan, COVID-19 survivor.
To be part of it because
And that's his
Dan
wife,
owes
Jo
so
Buchan,
much to the-
LSC
we both owe
singer.
So much to the NHS, and so does the country. And to memorialise the first few people, and eventually maybe all of the NHS workers who died, I think that's Howard's idea. It was important to me to try and take part.
There you go. And that is, I would believe, most of the updates so far on COVID-19 as far as we are aware of. Now, let's move on then to another story, because we are going to talk about Peep Show Black Force scene that was removed from Netflix but still remains on Channel 4. So the Peep Show scene in which Robert Webb's character Jez wears blackface makeup has been removed from Netflix, but the scene from Series 2 of the hit sitcom can still be seen on Channel 4's streaming service, All 4. Now, Channel 4 said that it didn't think erasing our creative history is a quick fix for the issues of affecting our society. In the scene which also features Jez's girlfriend Nancy, this is Rachel Blanchard, Jez says that it just feels almost wrong, but you are sure that this isn't racist. Nancy replied that we're breaking a taboo. Of course it feels wrong, and we've got boundaries to smash. The series originally ran from 2003 to 2015. A spokesperson for the channel said that the programme, its streaming archive span more than 30 years, and it is reviewing the way it handles and shows. They said many shows reflect the time that they were made, and some contain content which could now be regarded as inappropriate. It is a complex issue, though, particularly when it relates to programmes that satisfy committed on the challenge of a specific moment in our culture that is no longer relevant to audiences today. So they said, we understand that the strong feelings are provoked by some of the content, but we do not believe that erasing our creative history is a quiet fix for the issues affecting on sociality today. Channel 4 is committed to inclusion and diversity and opposes discrimination in any form, and therefore, having reflected deeply on this subject, we are undertaking a review of the principles governing how we handle historic programmes across our platforms. Netflix declined the comment. Many platforms are revelating their offerings following mass protests against racism after the death of George Floyd in police custody. Now, Gone with the Wind was temporarily removed from HBO Max, but it has now been reinstated alongside as a disclaimer saying the Oscar-winning 1939 film denies the horrors of slavery. UK TV said it would do something similar with an episode of 1970s comedy 40 Towers, adding the Germans episode with a warning about offensive content and language. Meanwhile, 30 Rock's Tina Fey apologised for blackface, appearing in several episodes of the hit sitcom, and asked for them to be removed. Matt Lucas and David Williams apologised for their use of blackface after 2 of their series, This is Little Britain and Come Fly With Me, were removed from circulation. Lee Francis also apologised for using masks to dress up as black celebrities such as Trisha Goddard, Greg David and Melanie B on the Channel 4 show This is Bo Selector, and Anton Deck has said sorry for impressing people of colour on Saturday Night Takeaway. Okay, we'll leave that one there and move on to another story. So, we're not going to talk about a Leicester because I wanted to talk about Crony author Candice Carty-Williams wins British Book Award. Now, Candice Carty-Williams has said that she feels proud but sad to become the first black author to win Book of the Year of the British Book Awards. Critically underclaimed about novel Queenie was offended of tiles from authors including Lisa Tamsley, Anthony Braithwell and Margaret Atwood. She's joined at the winners' podium by Bernardine Avalestio, who has named Author of the Year. Her book will win a novel, A Girl Woman, other one fiction book of the year, and reacting to her win, Cathy Williams said that I don't quite know how I feel about winning book of the year, and she said I'm proud of myself, yes, and grateful to the incredible learn that helped me get Quinty out of my head and on the shelves. So we've got a video now for speaking, I think. We have.
You know, the book has been a bestseller for about 20 weeks now, but it hasn't reached number one. But I just assumed that there had been other writers of colour who'd reached number one, and to discover that they haven't is, I think, really disturbing.
What do you think has driven this? Because, of course, it was a Booker Prize winner in tandem with jointly awarded with Margaret Atwood. That obviously always gives a boost to sales. But then think about the conversations that have been happening over the last few weeks, rightly so. Has that helped as well, do you think?
I think definitely, and I have to say it's also been on Radio 4 as a book at bedtime, so it's been adapted into 15-minute slots for the last 10 days. I think that helped. And then possibly I would probably think, yes, getting to number one is to do with the Black Lives Matter movement, because suddenly people were buying all these books by black authors. It was quite incredible because people were curating lists of books that other people should read, primarily white people. And I think that's phenomenal and really unusual, because that has never happened before. And certainly when we had the last Black Lives Matter movement a few years ago, there wasn't the level of involvement from all kinds of people in it that there are today. So people are going out there and they're buying these books. And I have to say that, Reni Eddo-Lodge wrote Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race, which was published a few years ago. That's also the paperback non-fiction number one. And in America, topping two of the New York Times lists are also two African-American writers. So there are four of us, actually, at the top of these lists. And I think this is a history-making moment.
You've been successful critically for a long time, haven't you? But if you like, the commercial success has come relatively late. What part do you think the colour of your skin had, if at all, in any of that?
Wow. Yeah, interesting. I think there is a misconception that if literature is about people of colour, that the only people who are interested in reading it are people of colour. And I think I have probably, been affected by that in terms of my career, because I'm a black British woman, Nigerian, English parentage. I write from that perspective. I write about the African diaspora. My work is very much rooted in the UK. And because there aren't many of us writing, and not many of us have broken through. I mean, I've broken through now, but I mean, it's taken so many years to do this, that I think people think that the work is not for them. And then perhaps the industry thinks the work does not have wide appeal. And then you have agents who are really the middle people in this business, who are the people who then take on authors to represent them, to try and sell them to the publishing houses. So when there is this sort of understanding that if it's literature by people of colour, or black people or black women, that is going to have a really narrow appeal, then you are going to be negatively impacted as a result. And what I love about my novel, Girl, Woman, Other, and this is solely because of winning the Booker Prize, so many people are reading it, so much so that it's become this number one bestseller. But so just to say that the Booker Prize is such an important prize that the barriers people would have had to reading my book, I think, dissolved overnight. And now they're reading it, and word of mouth and whatever else, and it's getting out there into the world.
That was author Bernadette Prosino there. She also said that, and she was sad and confused that she's the first black and female author to have won the award since it began. And she continued, and she said, overall, this win makes me hopeful, and although I am the first, the industry are waking up to the fact that I shouldn't and won't be the last. That's what she said. Now, the win comes just